That ball you want to take? That there's a mistake.
And what do you know that every scout and coach on earth does not?
I'm thinking. I want total control of my team. I want to be able to recruit anybody that I want. No interference.
My word is my bond.
I want it in writing.
Missed it by that much.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Steelers Sanctuary Sunday Draft Spotlight. I'm your host, Dave Ribeiro, and we're here with Bob Quinn, my partner in crime for draft stuff. Bob, how's it going?
Wonderful.
All right, we got some news just before, about an hour or two before we came on. Mr. Jalen Milroe has been invited to the NFL draft. That's super interesting because if you're invited to the draft, the NFL expects you to be drafted in the first round, more or less. I mean, we've gotten some outliers on that in the past, but for the most part,
it's a little unusual. I feel like we're going to kind of get into this when we get into quarterback rankings. I mean, he's kind of a top 4, maybe top 3 prospect. So I'm a little surprised. I still think this is a bad quarterback draft. I'm not even 100% sure Jackson Dart's going in the first round. I know a lot of people think he could go as high as the top 10. You're one of them. I don't. I think it's a massive reach. I think Milroe's even a bigger reach. I mean, he's a guy maybe in the second. Maybe they're inviting him because he'll be the guy they show on draft night falling. But I really don't think he's falling. I think it's contrived.
oh, I don't know, man. What makes me nervous is there's only one team that has any ties to Jalen Milroe in the first round. Any rumors to that? And that's our Pittsburgh Steelers, buddy.
Yeah.
Clearly, the league's higher on him than either you or I, because they wouldn't invite him to this. I mean, I was thinking late second, early third for Milroe. Now, you'd almost be shocked if he was late second or if he's invited to the draft and he's sitting there throughout the whole thing. And then what does he come back on day 2 and sit there again? I don't know.
Unless one of these teams at the end of the first round with nice offenses are saying, okay, we're going to pick him as a project to develop behind a Stafford or a Goff or somebody like that. I mean, there's word out of Detroit that they are not happy with Hendon Hooker.
I've heard
so
that.
Maybe they're going to look at getting another developmental quarterback in there, which honestly, for some of these contenders, I guess they could afford to do it. Especially after the Rams did so well in the draft. Rams just are surprised to ever be drafting in the first round.
Yeah.
I guess because they've traded away picks for so long. But, I can't see giving the keys to Milroe in your offense to start the season.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. You'd expect him to be a backup to start out, but if Uncle Aaron never signs, then he would be the backup in Pittsburgh. This is now high-level alert for me. I'm very scared that the Steelers are actually going to pull a trigger on this, and I think, like I've said, I'm not totally down. I think I'm a little higher on him than you are. I like the athletic traits, but 21 overall would be.
I mean, his athletic trait is his speed, but
yeah,
Steelers haven't showed they could exploit that trait in a quarterback.
100%. But yeah, you're right. I don't know. I don't know what they would be thinking to take this, but it seems almost assured. I think we could put top 50 is where he's going to go. Because the NFL, someone told the NFL we're considering him in the first round. That's the only reason they invite him. Maybe multiple teams said it. So we'll see. I mean, I don't want to beat this to a dead horse, but it's super interesting because, again, like I said before, the only rumor connecting Jalen Milroe to the first round is the Steelers one that I think it was, what's his name? Colin Cowherd that came up with it, right? He said he heard from a scout. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, we will see. I'd be surprised if it happens. But
I'd be surprised too. I'd be kind of disappointed as well. Mm-hmm. All right, you want to jump to Daniel Jeremiah's new top 50 he just came out with, I think, a couple of days ago.
Yep.
We're going to go 10 at a time, kind of give our thoughts on this. I'll read them off quick. Number one on his list is Abdul Carter, the edge from Penn State. Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, third overall, which is wild. Mason Graham, Jalen Walker, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, 2 tight ends in the top 10. Cam Ward, Jihad Campbell, and Will Campbell.
Right.
You got any thoughts on that top 10?
I'm a little surprised to have the 2 tight ends back to back. I think Genty's still a little bit high. But I mean, that being said, I mean, I guess I could see him thinking Genty, although after watching O'Marion Hampton and their 2 tapes compared, I just don't get it. Warren is growing on me a little bit. I still think he's the wrong fit for the Steelers in the first round. But the fact that he could be the tush push guy and he did it so much at Penn State, little surprised Cam Ward, who is probably going to be the number 1 overall pick, is this low.
I've heard, I listened to Daniel Jeremiah's podcast, and he's got that top 6, 7 as his blue chip guys, like can't miss start. And he's got Cam Ward just outside that blue chip type thing. And obviously Cam Ward's going to go number 1 overall. I think that's now that the Browns and everybody else canceled their private workouts with Ward. It's pretty much a lock now. He's going to go 1. But for me, I would love Tyler Warren to go to the Steelers. I just don't think it's going to happen now. Earlier on in this process, he was like, what do you think? Like a mid to late first rounder. Now a lot of people have him in his top 10. So I'd be surprised if he gets out of top 15 anyway. And it depends on what you like, right? Loveland's more of a route runner, maybe a little bit more speed. Tyler Warren's more of a physical, in-your-face type tight end.
I think they're hoping these 2 guys are Brock Bowers, and I don't see either of them in that category. Bowers was probably the most unique guy to come out of the drafted tight end in a good long while. These guys are good. They have interesting skill sets. As far as being top 10 overall, it either means the draft is really bad or these guys are exceptional. And looking at him compared to Bowers, though, I don't think either one of them can carry Bowers' jock.
Bowers is unique. Like, he's different. I mean, he's like a slot receiver.
Yeah.
More than he is a tight end.
I guess he's a big human being, though, and he's a good blocker.
Yeah. Yeah. Tyler Warren's definitely not like him at all. He's a different. I've heard him. I heard somebody say he's more Gronk than he is. He's more physical, more punishing guy. We'll see. I love Tyler Warren, so I'd love to see it. We haven't done much. I haven't looked at any linebackers because I don't expect the Steelers to draft a linebacker at all. So Jihad Campbell being this high, that's interesting to me. Any other year, the Steelers.
Yeah, definitely not a fit for the Steelers.
Yeah, for sure. And then Will Campbell being his number 1 offensive tackle is interesting to me too because of the short arm thing. Some people have said he may be guard.
Yeah, I like Membu better than him, although I do think Will Campbell is very good.
Yeah, I like Membu better too. Let's do 11 through 20. Jahdae Barron is 11. Armand Membu's 12. O'Marion Hampton, our guy, is 13. Will Johnson, cornerback, 14. Nick Emanwari is 15. Matthew Golden, 16. Emeka Ibuka is 17. Tedoroto McMillan is 18. Shedeur Sanders is 19. And Tyler Booker is 20. This is the hot zone for the Steelers guys, right? Any number of these guys could be on the Steelers wish list come 21.
I would hope that if Will Johnson falls, and there's a chance he will, that the Steelers would not leap because the tape last year wasn't great. And 2 years ago, he was really good. I don't know. And now we've seen, all of a sudden, Michigan, Roman Wilson didn't translate. I don't love the idea of taking a guy who looks like he's maybe on the downside coming in. If we got him in the second or third, I'd be ecstatic. I don't think he'd last that long, but I hope the Steelers, who recent history, although Omar hasn't picked one, recent history cornerback drafts, they reach and for guys who they shouldn't reach for. The guy I love, who I'm all due respect to Daniel Jeremiah, the guy I think is the best player in the draft is Nick Amenwori. He's big, he's fast, he can play safety, he can play corner, he's a hitter. I love that guy. I think he's a guy that if the Steelers get to 21 and he's there, you may have to think about, even though we don't necessarily need the position, just put that guy in the middle of the defense and let it cook.
Yeah, Greg in the chat brings up that Steelers had Amenwori in for a visit. We're going to go over the visits after this.
Yeah.
He is coming in, so that definitely shows interest. I don't remember a player moving up from the beginning of the process to where we are now as fast as Amenwori has. He wasn't even safety 1 or even 2, I don't think, in the beginning of this. And suddenly now he's top, 20 player on this board, and a lot of people top 15.
It's that speed, man. That 4.3,
Yeah,
6.3.
that testing.
Yeah.
The testing just put him over the top because his tape, we've talked about this a couple times. He's been, people have said he takes plays off here and there. A guy with that kind of physical ability, why didn't he dominate college football? He really didn't. So there's some, not really red flags, but just questions about, a superior athlete like that. Why didn't he do better in college? Will Johnson, you're right. He did get injured this year, right? So he's hard to evaluate. Last year, supposedly his tape was fantastic. He's a Michigan guy, so I could see the Steelers liking him. And if he falls to 21, I can see them saying, "Ooh, this is a gift in our laps. Let's just jump on him."
Yeah.
16, 17, and 19 are interesting. Golden, Egbuka, and then maybe Shedeur Sanders. I know you would definitely take Shedeur Sanders at 21, right? I think I would use.
Yeah. Only if he fell.
I would use him to trade back. I would see. I bet you get a little bit of a haul if he lasted at 21. Like, you want that second round pick back. You could probably get that and something if Shedeur Sanders went all the way to 21.
Yeah. I mean, then you've got to really ask yourself, okay, if he falls, I don't think he will, because it looks like after he threw at his pro day, people have started to climb back on the Shedeur Sanders train. Some people didn't like a couple of the pats of the ball and other stuff, but I mean, he's a guy who's ready to run a pro style offense. I mean, I think he's a guy who we talked about it the other night on the podcast. He's starting to draw comps to guys like Alex Smith, a talented game manager type of player. And honestly, if you think about it, if you could pick one quarterback not named Ben who would fit Mike Tomlin to a T, it's a guy like Alex Smith, who doesn't take a lot of chances, doesn't turn the ball over, is mobile enough before the injury. I mean, Alex Smith probably would be Mike Tomlin's dream quarterback. So if you're telling me Shedor's there, like you said, but it'd be totally, if I'm sitting at 21 and all of a sudden my phone rings and it's the Giants and they're willing to give me, that early pick in the second round and their third rounder and maybe fleece a next year out of them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
because you could have a competition, like people trying to trade up to get Shedeur Sanders at that point. It could be, New Orleans. If they don't take a quarterback, it could be a lot of them. I saw this. I am not going to hate Jackson Dart there, buddy. Not going to happen. Relic asks us about the talk now is that Travis Hunter is the Cleveland Browns guy. They love Travis Hunter. Which
I was listening to Starkey talk about this early in the week, and Travis Hunter makes a lot of sense for the Browns because you've got Myles Garrett for the rusher, and Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett would be an impressive bookend.
That's what I would do.
But you get another elite defensive player in a different part of the defense. That makes a lot of sense too. So I feel like the Browns are off Shedeur just simply because they love Kenny Pickett so much. No,
not even the Browns fans will buy that one.
I've heard a lot of buzz about the Browns and Kirk Cousins. I think
there's been a lot of that.
I don't even know how they could pay that. But No, I hope Shador doesn't go to the Browns because I think he would help them and kind of like a Baker. I think they would undervalue him. Baker, he doesn't have quite the arm talent of Baker, but he's not far off in my opinion. I really feel like the Giants are the team, and the Raiders, even though they gave Geno that extension, I think they would see the value, and Brady could convince him of the value of, hey man, just sit and learn for a year, and then next year we'll worry about, maybe we get rid of Geno and maybe he backs you up.
Remember the name Tyler Booker when we do our top 5 Steelers picks and first round pick and 5 picks. That's going to be one of my guys. All right. Next 10 is 21, Mike Green, edge rusher. We won't spend too much time on him. Michael Williams, edge rusher, another one. Derek Harmon is his first defensive tackle, top defensive tackle on his board. That's interesting. Gray Zabel, guard.
Who I love.
From
I love that guy. I love Gray Zabel.
Yeah.
Pairing him with his college teammate Mason McCormick.
Yeah.
I don't see that it's a great move, but it might be a really fantastic long-term move.
It could be. I'm telling you, guard's not out of the realm of possibility. Let me finish off the rest of these. James Pierce is an edge. Shamar Stewart's another edge. Walter Nolan, 28. Malachi Starks, 29. And Kenneth Grant, 30. This is the defensive tackles. He's got Harmon, then Nolan, then Grant in his list. For the Steelers and what they're looking for, I think I'd flip that. I think I would go Grant, then Nolan, then Harmon. What do you think?
Well, remember, if you caught the show last week, we had Jim from the Draft Professor on, and he had both Nolan and Kenneth Grant as top 15 talents.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, in a thin draft, it's kind of in the eye of the beholder here. But
it is.
That being said, I mean, I think Grant is probably the better pro. Nolan might be the better fit for the Steelers. I would love either one of them. But if I start thinking about this, if it's Uncle Aaron and it's now up to an 84.7 chance that it's Uncle Aaron, I think you got to go weapon in the first round. I really do, because I think there's guys you can get later on in the draft who are comparable to this, especially, let's just say our dream scenario comes true and Shador is sitting there, or maybe somebody really loves one of the wide receivers, Buffalo, looking at you, and they were willing to jump up and get us back a late first and a second. Now a lot of these other guys come into play. But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick defensive tackle, I'd probably go Grant 1, Nolan 2. But I feel like Grant's more of a just straight nose tackle. So I don't know.
Yeah. And people say there's upside for him to become a pass rusher at some point. Relic says no way they draft a quarterback at 21. I wouldn't say no way. I wouldn't say it's likely, but I wouldn't completely roll it out. There's too much. They spent a lot of time on these quarterbacks. I mean, they met Jackson Dart 3 times. We talked about that, and Milroe too now, between a visit, the combine, and at the Senior Bowl. So they're doing their homework on these quarterbacks now. Are they going to take one in the first round? Probably not, but I wouldn't completely rule it out.
And I think Adam has a good point here too. I mean, why pick a quarterback at 21? In general, I agree with you. I don't think Shador will fall that far. I think from a value standpoint, though, if it gets there, you really have to think about it and make a decision. You're getting a guy who's probably a top 10 pick who fell to 21. Unless you could trade back and he keeps falling, then it's a matter of, would I love Shador Sanders? No, I'm not saying I want him to be the franchise quarterback, but if he falls in my lap and then I have all those comp picks next year, you know what?
You could fill out the roster with that at that point, right? I mean,
exactly.
Or you could trade up and get a big time wide receiver that'll probably fall because all the quarterbacks are going to get taken next year. So there's a lot of ways to do this. I mean, I wouldn't want Shador Sanders either at 21. I'd rather them, start a bidding war and try to get the most and trade back. That would be my my desired way to go. All right, let's keep this moving. 31 is Kelvin Banks. 32 is Mason Taylor. 33 Luther Burden. 34 Trevion Henderson. 35 Maxwell Hairston. 36 my man Jackson Dart. 37 Josh Simmons. 38, Quinshawn Junkins. 39, Josh Connerly. And 40, Benjamin Morrison. I tweeted out a while ago my favorite scenario would be Omarion Hampton. My least favorite scenario for the first round pick would be Benjamin Morrison.
Yeah.
Because they all went to the Notre Dame Pro Day. So he's at least under consideration, but I would not. That's too risky.
It's a huge gamble with the hip injury, especially one of the things that he's noted for is the fact that he has a nice hip turn to get and cover. But with the injured hip, I mean, if I'm going to take a chance on an injured guy, my guy ain't on the list. It's Siobhan Ravel.
Yeah, I think I would do that too.
Yeah, if I was going to do that, I think it's interesting. Both Ohio State running backs are this high. I don't think there's any way either one finds their way into the first round. But these are guys who probably will be gone in the second round. I've done some mocks where I get Quinshawn Junkins in the third, which I wouldn't hate. He would certainly be the high end of that as far as I'm concerned. But if I was going to pick one of the two Ohio State running backs, I still like Trevion better. Give me the starter over the backup guy. But I think they'll both have nice pro careers.
Yeah, I think they're in his top 50. I think they're both gone after 50 for sure. I don't think either one of them makes it out of the top 50 in this draft. I keep going back and forth on Judkins and Henderson. I like Judkins because he's more physical, more physical Steelers type guy, but Trevion Henderson is that home run hitting type guy that this team really needs and really lacks. That would be fun. Not at 21 though. If they ended up trading down and the Shedeur Sanders scenario popped up, then late first, early second would be a good place for Trevion Henderson or Judkins for that matter.
Yeah.
Let's get the last 10. 41 is Donovan Jackson, a guard. Trey Amos is interesting cornerback, 42. Elijah Arroyo, another tight end, 43. Carson Schlesinger, a linebacker. Caleb Johnson, 45, made it even after that lousy 40.
Yeah,
he's in at 46.
Back in.
Darius Alexander is a sleeper defensive tackle that really fits what the Steelers would want. He's super interesting. Marcus Membo, offensive tackle, 48. Nick Scorton, an edge at 49. And Azariah Thomas at 50.
Otherwise known as Joey Porter III.
Yeah, Joey Porter clone. This group this is where the draft starts to fall, man. It doesn't do a lot for me. I like Thomas. Yeah.
Trey Amos is probably the most polished outside corner in the draft. And the fact that he ran a good time, I see him continuing to rise. He was a borderline first-round pick to start the draft. He's solidly in the second right now. I still think if you need corner help, he's the safest option out there if you need outside. Jahdae Barron is an elite slot corner. So if you need, it depends what you need. Like if it's the Steelers, Barron it has a home because you put him in the slot corner. He's a shutdown guy. You also can blitz him off the edge.
I was just going to say he'd be fun with that 4.3 speed blitzing off the edge.
Assuming they would ever blitz him.
Yeah, that's another that's another issue.
But if I'm going to pair a guy with Joey Porter and I trade back, I'd almost rather see Trey Amos than Thomas. Although I like Thomas's game, it's just if you're going to get Thomas, you just got to be okay with the penalties and. You're going to have the penalty. Look, I don't care who you are as a defensive back, unless the referees like you. I saw it today. I was listening to Ben talk about it on his podcast. I was rewatching it. He's like, look, if you start calling a penalty after every play, offensive linemen aren't going to get out of the building without 10 penalties. And he said, and then he followed that up, and every cornerback holds. It's just a matter of do they watch and they get away with it. So. Could be interesting. I like those guys. I just without a second round pick, I just don't know that we can get either one of them.
I think it's interesting. Trey Amos versus Azariah Thomas. I think I'd go Amos too. That'd be an interesting debate between those two guys if you had a second round pick, which we don't.
And I like Darius. Go ahead.
Maxwell Hairston's 35. He's clearly like a little bit better than both of those guys, right? I mean.
Well, he's more like Barron. He's more of a slot guy. So if you pass on Barron, you could maybe come. But again, no second round pick. You could maybe come back and get Hairston in the second round. I mean, to me right now, if you're a true NFL boundary quarterback, you got to be at least 6 foot, 6'1", because the receivers have just gotten so big. If you're under 6 foot, I feel like you got to play inside. You just got to play inside. I can't really think of elite corners at this point in the NFL who are under 6 feet tall who play outside.
I mean, you're right, but there's always outliers. I mean, I think Jahdae Barron would be an incredible weapon on defense. Your point is well taken, though. If they use him that way,
Yes.
as a blitzer, and he could, in an emergency, if somebody gets hurt, he could give you decent play outside. He'd be better than anybody else on the roster right now, not named Slay and JPJ. And
Absolutely.
their depth at corner is not good at this point. To wrap up his top 50, it's a lot of tight ends. He's had like 5 tight ends. We counted it was only 4 wide receivers, a bunch of running backs. That's the way this draft is. It's not very, wide receiver heavy. It's not quarterback heavy. It's more tight ends and running backs. All right.
It's interesting that they're finally climbing as far as guys who the Steelers have been at least mildly linked to. I think Genty's probably a pipe dream.
Yeah, at this point, I think you're right. Genty's not happening.
But you start to talk about guys like Barron and Hampton and the guy I love, even Morey, Golden I love too. If any of those guys are sitting there at 21, to me it should be a no-brainer. You run up there and pick those guys, 11 through 16.
Any one of these guys in this list right here, I would be happy with. I'd be ecstatic with any one of these guys. I'm looking at this list. Shedeur, maybe. Even Shedeur or Jackson Dart. Again, I love Jackson Dart. I'm not sure the Steelers is the greatest spot for him to land. Take the quarterbacks aside. Any one of these positional players, yeah, I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah, I don't know that I love the idea of reaching. I feel like it'd be a reach for Egbuka.
He's one of the fringe too. I agree with you. Yep.
I also feel like it'd be a reach for Derek Harmon. I don't know why people are now ranking him ahead of Nolan and Grant. I don't see
I was
it.
watching him before we came on today. He's got some pretty good tape.
Yeah, no, I agree. And he's got a place in a 4-3 defense. I just don't think he has a place in the Steelers defense, which is why I don't like it. I think he's a good player.
Relic's going to have to move out of the country if Uncle Aaron and Jackson Dart end up on the Steelers this year. He's going to have to find a new team.
We didn't make the list, buddy. Don't worry. I'm still with you. No Jackson Dart, especially not at 21. Look, if he's there at 83, no, I have zero problem with taking Jackson Dart.
Yeah, so Bob did a nice, if you're listening and not watching us, first round target rankings from Daniel Jeremiah's list that the Steelers have had some kind of connection to. It's Ashton Genty, Tyler Warren, Jahdae Barron, Amari Hampton, Nick Emenwari, Matthew Golden, Emeka Egbuka, Shedeur Sanders, Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant, and Jackson Dart. That's, like we said, that's a good list of possible outcomes that would be pretty good for the Steelers.
Yeah, speaking of quarterbacks, though, here's an interesting little tidbit with the USA Today quarterback rankings, top 10. Jeremiah's got 3 in his top 50, but after that, kind of falls off.
It does fall off. I mean, looking at this list, I think I would have Tyler Shuck ahead of Jalen Milroe.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I think this list is okay. What do you think?
I
wouldn't draft Dylan Gabriel seventh round. I don't think he can do it in the NFL.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised Brosmer made the list here. But that being said, I've been saying all along, as far as I'm concerned, 3 through 10, put them in a hat, shake it up, take one of them. You probably get about the same thing. I was watching Cosell on the Ross Tucker podcast, and he was talking about Quinn Ewers, and he's a guy who he's really high on. I know Jordan Palmer is really high on Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord, to me, I would, out of all of these guys, 3 through 10, mostly because I can get him on day 3.
Yeah,
Kyle McCord is the guy for me. I I think he's probably the most pro-ready out of those 3 through 10. Not that he's actually pro-ready. I think all these guys are projects. And honestly, I don't even have Will Howard on my list. I watching the combine and watching him play, I don't. It's kind of like the Jalen Milroe fascination. Oh, he ran fast once. Okay, great. If I want my quarterback to run fast, I'll go get Cordell Stewart out of retirement.
Vaughn brings up a good point here. Quinn Ewers intrigues me. This guy was the hands down number one quarterback prospect coming out of high school when he came out like 3 years ago. I'm assuming he's been banged up almost his entire career at Texas, and last year he played with a torn oblique the whole year. Is there any way that this guy could be a diamond in the rough that you pick up? A, you'd have to keep him healthy because he hasn't really been healthy, and then B, guys like that really intrigue me. I'm talking 4th, 5th round here. I'm not talking, first or third round. I would take a flyer on Quinn Ewers and see what he can give me.
Yeah, he's not a bad option on day 3 for sure. It kind of like the Tyler Shuck story, but not as extreme.
Yeah, not as extreme. Yeah,
played through his injuries, probably to his detriment.
I was just going to say that. You read my mind. To his detriment, probably.
Yeah, I like those guys. I think Relic has an interesting question here, although, whoops, sorry.
Sorry, Bob.
Yeah. Look, bottom line is if Aaron Rodgers is on your roster, he's the starter. There's no question that any of those guys would supplant Aaron Rodgers. What would be more interesting and what I'm deathly afraid of is Mason and either Dart or Sanders, and then whoever they bring in for the camp body to go with Skylar Thompson, and them rushing a rookie onto the field who's not ready. And I don't even know that Cam Ward is actually ready, but maybe with Cam Ward. I get it. The intangibles are there. He goes number 1 overall. He's got to play. If Shador goes to the right team, he's got to play. After that, I don't put Jackson Dart on the field his first year. I definitely don't put Milroe on the field.
No.
I might put Shock on the field.
Yeah, he might be able to do it. I mean, he's been in college for 8 years, so he should be ready by now.
Yeah, but all those other guys, I mean, if I'm having my brothers, I want them to sit and learn.
Yeah. I would even say Shador could benefit from sitting a little while, maybe half the season, 6, 7 games just to get acclimated. Tom Brady thinks every quarterback should.
Yeah, that's why I think Shador. I think that Geno move was to protect Shador. I still think he's if he gets by the Giants, I still think it's Raiders for Shador.
It could be. I mean, at this point, nothing would surprise me with Shador Sanders. Nothing would surprise me. If he got picked second, it wouldn't surprise me. If he fell out of the first round, it's such a weird case here. Nothing would surprise me. The rest of this list, like after yours, just you like McCord. I could live with McCord in the 4th or 5th round too, but it's a bad quarterback draft, so you gotta. Yeah, take it with a grain of salt.
This is a good question from our hashtag master. You wouldn't necessarily pick a quarterback at 21 if you got Aaron. I would wholeheartedly disagree with that, especially with next year's draft. But if you're getting one of these guys in the 4th round to sit behind Aaron for a year, like to me, a guy like McCord and maybe Ewers to heal up, to sit behind and watch Rodgers for a year, I think you could get some benefit out of that. So, and it wouldn't preclude you from going out the next year and drafting a guy in the 1st round. But now maybe you've got Mason, this guy who in this list who sat for a year, to take the pressure off a rookie coming in and saying, okay, you got to carry the franchise from the beginning.
Yeah, I don't think signing Aaron Rodgers precludes them from drafting a quarterback in the 1st round. If they really like somebody, I mean, that's best case scenario. If they really like Jalen Milroe, you sit him all year and let him watch Aaron Rodgers play, learn from him, and then you start him next year. That's perfect scenario. Same thing with Jackson Dart, really. You could, and Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old, so he could get hurt at any time. So having a 1st round pick as your backup quarterback is not exactly a bad scenario. I got a question for you, Bob. let's say they do draft Dart, Milrow, Sanders in the first round. Do they cut
guy,
Mason
we gotta
Rudolph
root
at that
for him.
point?
Do what?
Do they cut Mason Rudolph at that point? Because you don't really
No.
need Mason anymore.
No, I think if you draft one of those guys, you absolutely keep Mason around because of the project status. You got Aaron, who hopefully would make it through the year, but if he doesn't, if you're trying to win, Mason is going to give you a better chance than virtually everyone on this list.
There's only
season.
Only so many snaps in training camp and preseason. And if you're drafting a quarterback at number 1, you want this guy to get as many snaps as possible, unless you just leave Mason on the sideline in mothballs knowing that he can play.
Well,
doesn't need
luckily,
him.
Aaron's not going to show up for OTAs and probably half the training camp, so there'll be plenty of snaps.
Don't say that. Pittsburgh's going to burn. It's going to be fun. If he ever signs.
Yep.
If he ever signs. All right, you want to move on to the player visits?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. I'm going to read off the list. It's kind of interesting, and we're going to read into some of this stuff. The players, it's 20 players that have visited so far. The Steelers get 30, so we're expecting about 10 more this week. Tyler Shuck, Jackson Dart, DJ Giddens, Dylan Sampson, Bashil Tootin, Ollie Gordon, Jaden Blue, Caleb Johnson, Jalen Noel, Savion Williams, Jalen Higgins, Matthew Golden, JJ Pegas, Yaya Black, Joshua Farmer, Elijah Roberts, Jamari Caldwell, Azaria Thomas, Trey Amos, and Nick Emenweri. Me and Bob were talking about this in the prep before we got on. Really only 2 lock first-round pick candidates on this list, Emenweri and Matthew Golden, right?
Mm-hmm. And, well, I think Jaden Higgins is a lock for number 1.
You think so?
First round. Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of buzz, but I don't know if we can say it a lock.
I can't see him getting past the Bills at 30 if the Bills stay where they are. I mean, he's everything Josh Allen should love in a receiver. He's 6'4".
Yeah.
He's an accomplished route runner. He's faster than expected. I think he's the guy they thought they were getting with Keon Coleman, although Coleman is probably more explosive down the field. He needs a reliable target, and he's got some guys, Shakur and all that, but Higgins would be a guy who I think would fit in well with Buffalo. I mean, I would love him. I mean, but I can't see him picking him over Golden at this point, who I do think is going to be there.
You think Golden's going to be there at 21? I don't know
if he gets past Dallas at 12, yes, I think Golden's going to be there.
Yeah, I haven't gone through the whole list and who needs wide receivers, but yeah, it'd be interesting. What this list tells you is they seem to be targeting running back and defensive tackle in day 2, day 3, right? I mean, there's a lot of day 2, day 3 guys.
Yeah, JJ Pegas is a guy who I think will be there. Definitely.
Joshua Farmer's probably there in the 3rd, hopefully.
No, I don't think Farmer gets past the 2nd. He was 43 on Jeremiah's list. He dropped out of the top 50 this time. But he was borderline. Yeah, he's a very interesting player. I don't see him getting out of the 2nd round. All these other defensive tackles of all of these, I do like Pegas the best in a 3rd, and I do think there's a chance he could slip to the 4th. I think it's interesting that of Jeremiah's top 50, 2 corners and a safety, and those 2 corners are 2nd round corners. So maybe there's something up where they know they're going to be able to get back into the 2nd.
Well, that's what this list kind of tells you, right? Because by the time the Steelers draft in the 3rd, a lot of this list is gone, right? And this is a weird area. I don't see them taking anybody except the 2 we talked about, Golden or Emenweri in the 1st. And then by the time they come back late 3rd, mid to late 3rd, most of this list is gone. So, and the Steelers do this when they like to have information on guys. So when they get to free agency 4 years from now, they've already spoken to these guys and they know it. So they do a little bit of that too. But it's odd. Like, it does kind of lend us to believe maybe they're going to trade down and try to get a 2nd round pick to take one of these guys.
I know they have 10 visits left, so
Yep.
I'm surprised that we don't see names like Omarion Hampton, Kenneth Grant, and Walter Nolan, guys who they've been strongly rumored to be interested in. So I think maybe the last 10 will tell us a lot as far as where they go. Looking at this list, okay, I know Caleb Johnson's tape. He does on tape. It looks like he has burst, but bottom line is 4.57 is 4.57. I mean, if he somehow fell to the fourth, yes, you take Caleb Johnson all day long. I don't know why Jeremiah has him in the top 50. I don't see him as having burst. I really, really hope it's not Ollie Gordon in the late rounds.
Oh, me too. Me too.
That is a slower version of Najee Harris. I don't
That's a
know
good way
what
to put
we
it.
would get out of that.
That's a good way to put it. I'd take a flyer on Bashil too, and just the measurables and the way he tested. I mean, he's in the 90th percentile in almost every athletic 40, both jumps. He's a little. I think he's only 5'9", but
I
if
think
you're
out
talking,
of the speed guys are there. Jaden Blue, Dylan Sampson.
yeah, they're both small though. Well, Dylan Sampson's not small, but Jaden Blue's really small.
Mhm.
Like he's thin. He's more of a scat back type running back. You know, I love DJ Giddens. I don't think. No, this is such a deep running back class that any one of these guys could fall.
Yeah.
You know, they could just get mixed up in the wash, and you're going to be freaking super happy with DJ Giddens in the third. Dylan Sampson, if he fell to the third, I don't think he will, but you'd be super happy with him too. You like Joshua Farmer. Yaya Black is a 6'7" round guy. We were talking about him. He's 6'7", 345. He didn't do well in the testing at all. Not very good athlete, but a giant guy. We talked about it, Trey Amos or Azaria Thomas. They won't be around in the third. There's no way. I heard it.
More than likely, no.
Yeah, I don't think so. I heard a comp. I think it was McShay said Jalen Noel reminded him of. Now I'm going to blank on his name. The Steelers wide receiver that's trying to get in the Hall of Fame.
AB
No,
or Hines Ward.
Hines Ward.
Yes.
He says sees a lot of Hines Ward in his game, which that would be something. I like Jalen Noel a lot.
A lot faster than Hines, though.
Oh, yeah. A lot faster. It's the kind of player that the Steelers need. You got two go ball guys on the outside. You need somebody in the slot that can run routes, and someone like Noel would be a perfect fit. I love that.
Yeah.
And then Savion Williams, we haven't talked a lot about him. People call him the Cordero Patterson clone, only faster.
I feel like a Debo clone is more accurate.
Yeah, I like that. I like that comp better. He played, quarterback. He played running back. He played wide receiver. He did it all for the TCU. I'm super intrigued in Savion Williams.
I just don't see how they would use him. I mean, back in the day, a guy like Arians who could be creative with that's a guy traditionally you would think the Steelers would be interested in, but I just don't see how they use him. I not in this offense.
I don't remember. Was he this?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Was he this unimaginative in Atlanta too? I thought he did more stuff in Atlanta than he did here. I think Tennessee was very especially out of the running game. They did a lot of different stuff.
Yeah,
when he was there, it's in his bag of tricks. He just hasn't used it yet.
Yeah, I think Arthur Smith is pissing himself that all these tight ends are ranked in the top 50, and he's probably not going to get one of them.
I would think not, unless one of those top guys fell in the first round and you just couldn't pass on him. But I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
Vaughn
brings up Jack Jones.
I saw that too. I mean, is he better than what they have right now? Probably. As depth.
I think I'd rather see Corey Trice out there and see what the kid's got, for better or for worse. It's his last year under contract.
Fragile.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
All right, you want to break out our top five? We're trying to guess the Steelers' first round pick in 5 tries. We give ourselves 5 guys. Bob is going to go first.
All right,
Bob and Bill, your top 5.
So here's my picks. I do think if Aaron Rodgers is the pick, I think Matthew Golden is very likely. I do like Omarion Hampton. If we do go defense, those are the only 2 weapons I have in my top 5. I think there's a chance they can go defense, so I think it's Grant or Nolan, whoever's there. This is partially hope, but I do think if Golden's gone and Grant and Nolan are gone, and if it comes down to Hampton or Eamon Worry, I think I got to go Eamon Worry as much as I like Hampton.
Ooh, that would be tough.
Because I just feel like he's the best player in the draft. I just do. That size, that speed doesn't come along very often. Safeties who can play corner. Remember, Mink is getting paid a lot of money. I think if they could dump that contract, they would. And this is a guy who maybe you don't dump him this year. Maybe next year going into it is when you really evaluate and dumping Minka to maybe try to squeeze a draft pick out of a safety needy team.
I've heard talk that he can play slot. So
Yes.
he could be your slot guy, and then you could have all three on the field, which would be kind of amazing. Alan Saunders has been on this a lot. The Steelers have done a lot of homework on safeties, and he thinks that the Steelers could end up, if not in the first round, somewhere in this draft of safety. I wouldn't be surprised. You can't ignore Minkah Fitzpatrick's, slide these last couple seasons. That he's not the same guy. I don't know if it's the defense they're running. I don't know if it's injuries. I don't know if he's losing it. But last year he was not anywhere near as impactful as he's been in the past. You just can't ignore that. And we don't know what the reason is, but so Eamon Worry would not shock me. Would not shock me at 21.
And I think if Grant and Nolan, the question is if all five of them are there. If all five are there and Aaron Rodgers is under contract, I think he's got to go. It's got to be Golden.
It's got to be Golden. Or Hampton, if you want to spice up the run game for him. Yeah. I could see Hampton too. I could.
But I will say this: if he's not one of those last 10 visits, it's not going to be Hampton. Steelers.
No, because they didn't go to Spro Day, so and that almost eliminates them to begin with. And if they don't have him in for a visit, then yeah, I think you definitely cross them off. All right, well, I'm going to jump over to my picks now. My list is kind of similar to Bob's. I had Matthew Golden, I had Walter Nolan, I had Kenneth Grant. My two different ones are Jahdae Barron. Probably doesn't make it to 21, but if he's there, I think the Steelers really have to think about it. Mm-hmm. And Tyler Booker. My Tyler Booker scenario is your Eamon Worry scenario. If Nolan, Grant, Hampton, Golden are all gone, I can see the Steelers going guard. We know Seumalo's 31, 32 is in the last year of his contract. We don't know for sure if McCormick is the answer. We think he's good. We think he's going to be the guy. If Steelers have drafted offensive linemen 2 years in a row, could this be the third year in a row? It's possible. Everything you read about Tyler Booker is, and I think I've said this before, super good guy in the locker room, leader. He just wowed people in the interviews at the Combine. Everyone loved him. Don't sleep on Tyler Booker if things don't fall the Steelers' way in a draft and they don't have one of these guys. I agree with you. If Grant or Nolan are there, they probably go defensive tackle. We know, the owner's complaining that they have to stop the run. Tomlin said, we got to stop the run. And if that's really their focus, then Kenneth Grant's the guy. He's the nose tackle. He's the run stuffer with upside that could maybe push outside in a couple of years.
I don't know that he ever pushes outside. I really don't. Although if they ever shifted to a 4-3, he's, you're halfway there on defense.
Yeah.
Actually, you're all the way there because if you long-term went to 4-3, you've got Benton and Grant who could be your defensive tackles. That would be a nice inside push.
Oh, for sure would.
But I almost wonder if you're cashing all in, and again, we keep talking about him. If you're cashing all in with Aaron Rodgers, getting a guy who can maybe help you long-term stop the run's not going to make much of an impact. And same thing with, Booker, it would be unlikely to beat out Seumalo. If he beat out McCormick, okay, maybe. And then McCormick becomes the swing guy to replace Seumalo next year.
That could definitely happen. Yeah, that could definitely happen.
I don't see that happening, though, because I think McCormick is actually really good. I think he just hit the rookie wall towards the end of the year, and I think they got that pick right. So, I mean, it could happen, but then if you start looking at it, you can't draft guys who may or may not get on the field if you're picking Aaron Rodgers and quote unquote going all in. I mean, if you're building for the future and your team building and ignoring Cam and TJ and Minka getting old and ignoring the fact, or maybe you're deluded enough to think, hey, you were just a quarterback away last year, that if you put
That's what
Aaron
they are.
Rodgers into that offense versus Russell Wilson, that you're there. I don't think that's the case. I think you got to keep building the roster, hope that Aaron Rodgers has a renaissance year, and then go from there. Booker's a good player, but he's a good player.
He's the top guard in the draft, from what everybody says, and like I said, clean prospect. Anybody close on your list that you didn't? Did you have any trouble?
Yeah.
Is there any?
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to put Jaden Higgins on the list. I just think 21 is too much of a reach for him. I almost put Jahdae Barron on my list, and I think he would be the elite version of what Mike Hilton was for the Steelers.
Yes.
I mean, like super elite. The reason I left him off was because there's no way they're going to use him to blitz. They didn't use Peyton Wilson to blitz. Peyton Wilson is still the fastest guy in the defense until one of these guys joins it.
And you start to think about, having Wilson, Barron, Minka. That's a very athletic linebacker secondary core. That could be a lot of fun, do a lot of different things.
Right.
Will Mike Tomlin do that? I don't know. Probably not. But as TJ Watt continues to age and he doesn't put up 18, 19 sacks a season anymore, you got to get creative for pressure. Mm-hmm. And this is the way to do it. I tend to agree with you, though. I almost put Abuka on this list just for the same reasons as Booker. He's super clean prospect. The Steelers had a private dinner with him when they went to Ohio State, so they definitely are interested. I'm not crazy about him as a first-round pick, to be honest. He doesn't give you that wow. He's solid, though. If you bring a guy like, Aaron Rodgers in here, that would be a reliable route-running slot. That could go outside, too, but I think Aaron Rodgers would love an Abuka character. He's a great blocker, so that right off, when I heard that as in a scouting report, I'm like, oh, that's got Steelers written all over it. I mean, you put him in the slot, he can probably knock some guys around. So Abuka was close for me, really close. And he's probably more realistic than Matthew Golden being there at 21.
I keep seeing Golden slide to us. I mean, or at least be available. I don't know that would be the pick. I don't know how you pass him. The only way you would pass him, I mean, if everybody's on the board, like all of these guys are on the board, then it's a matter of, okay, well, maybe, and yeah, they may want to stop the run, but I mean, let's be honest, it's the NFL. I mean, unless you're playing Philly or Baltimore,
yeah,
you got to worry about stopping the run.
That's 4 games out of 17, though. That's
not playing Philly next year. That's 2 games out of 17.
Yeah, true. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just 2. And then, yeah. Say Cincinnati doesn't run like they used to anymore, and Cleveland doesn't either. So yeah, it's just Baltimore now. But that's still stinging them, though. I guarantee you. They do not like getting smacked around by Baltimore like that.
It should, but I mean, at some point, okay, if you go out and you get these guys, then let's say Grant. Let's take Grant, for example. Let's say he turns into an elite nose tackle. In 4 years, you going to pay him $25 million?
Depends. It depends. Is he really elite? Then you probably might have to.
Yeah, but then you're right back into I'm spending all the money on the defense and I'm letting my offense go.
Yeah. If Mike Tomlin's still here in 4 years, that's probably what happens. A guy we haven't talked a lot about is Luther Burden. If they had gone to the Missouri Pro Day, I would think he would replace Matthew Golden on my list. He's got a lot of talent. Again, there are a little bit of red flags with him. Mm-hmm. It's kind of attitude problem, but that's never stopped the Steelers before. And I think Burden has the, how do I put this? He's got the upside to be an elite receiver in this draft, where I think only Golden and maybe McMillan have to be real elite receivers in this draft. I think Burden could be up there if his head was on straight in the Steelers offense.
I wouldn't count out Higgins, who keeps getting the Nico Collins comp. I wouldn't count out Noel. Wouldn't count out Torrey Horton as potential later round guys who could turn into a elite. I mean, receiver is kind of a weird position because, you look back to just a couple of years ago, Amon-Ra St. Brown was a 4th-round draft pick. Nico Collins was a 5th-round draft pick. So, there are certain elite guys who, like Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, okay, it's no brainer. These guys are 1st round. They're going to be elite receivers. But sometimes the elite guys come out of nowhere. And I think it's all about the offense, too. A guy like Higgins goes to Buffalo, man, I'm going to be hard-pressed not to pick him in the first 5 fantasy rounds to pair with Josh Allen.
Yeah, the guys I'm listening to definitely saying that Higgins has 1st-round buzz. He's coming up now. I mean, he's got the size, he's got the speed. Now, you've been on him from day one. You liked him right from the beginning. He definitely has moved himself up into that range. He's the kind of guy that would probably be invited to the draft, too. That's how hot he's become. But I would bet out of these 10 guys, the Steelers' 1st-round pick comes out, unless something comes out of left field. Again, this Jalen Milroe news today, I'd put him 11th on this list. He's in play. In play.
Let's hope.
Unfortunately. And who's to say the Steelers couldn't, like you said, the scenario trade down with Buffalo, stay in the 1st round and take him? There's a lot of scenarios.
I think Milroe would be such a wasted 1st-round pick. I think Dart would be a wasted 1st-round pick. This roster does not have the luxury of reaching for a quarterback, especially when next year
I agree.
you can package and get a better option. If you're gonna throw a dart at a quarterback, pun intended, get one of those guys in the 4th round. I mean, you can't waste a 1st-round pick this year, especially if you're bringing Rodgers in to take one big run at it.
Yeah, I agree. If it's Rodgers. Yeah, I don't know how they would do it. Are they all in? Go get a weapon?
Yeah.
Say fucking hold off the team. I mean, they can go back to team building next year with all those comp picks if they really wanted to, and they're not going to trade every pick they have. They can start doing that.
And who knows? Yeah. Maybe next year we've said, hey, we should consider trading TJ, as sacrilegious as that is. Who's to say they're not going to extend TJ, take one run with Aaron Rodgers? And then next offseason, okay, TJ, Minka, we're gonna throw you out there hoping we can get 1st-round picks to package and move up and get whoever we think the quarterback is.
I would listen very hard. Even this year at the draft, if someone was to offer me multiple 1st-round picks, like 2 for TJ Watt, man,
yeah,
hard to say no. Hard to say no. Someone like Detroit would do it because they're so close.
Right.
And they're always looking for somebody to be on the other side of Hutchinson. I think Detroit would pony up some picks.
Yeah, Tony, in a vacuum, we'd agree with you, but bottom line is there is buzz on this. There are growing voices. You got to remember, TJ's 31. You're going to pay him. You have to pay him now $40 million plus a year with his new contract.
Yeah.
You're paying for the downside of his career, and having a one jersey guy at the expense of 4 more years of no playoff wins. I mean, at some point you got to move on. You just do. I don't want to see TJ go, but at the same time,
I don't either.
Listen. Yeah, you got to listen.
By the time this team's ready to compete for a Super Bowl again, TJ's going to be long gone. Well, maybe not long gone, but his career will be definitely on the down. We're looking at 2 to 3 seasons before this team's a serious Super Bowl contender. If they
unless they get lightning in a bottle. I mean, it would literally, if Aaron Rodgers has an MVP season, yes, they could be a contender this year. But it's strictly, I don't think that's going to happen, but Aaron Rodgers would have to come out and regain his MVP for him.
Tony, you're right. He probably will fight for a no trade, but that'd be a deal breaker for me. If I'm the Steelers, I'm like, we'll pay you the $40 million. Even though you're probably on the downside of your career, I'm not giving you a no-trade clause. Absolutely not. That'd be a deal breaker for me.
And just because they give it to him, Aaron Rodgers had a no-trade clause, and he got traded to the Jets.
Yeah, he'd have to agree to it at that point, which maybe he will, maybe he won't. I mean,
which I would give him that. I would say, TJ, hey, no problem. You want a no trade clause? No problem. Just bear in mind, if we suck this year, we're probably going to trade you, but we'll let you have the input and pick who you want to go to.
Tony's against it. He's not having it. He's like, he took less money, which he did on his last contract. Still got paid pretty good, but he did take less money.
I mean, look, if he turns around and takes $30 million to stay in Pittsburgh, okay, yeah, we don't trade him. But with Myles Garrett and all those guys getting paid 40, I mean, you can't pay him 40 for his 31 through 35 seasons. You just can't.
If the Lions came to you and said, we'll give you a first-round pick this year, a first-round pick next year, and a player, you say no?
But you're probably picking at the end of the first round with those
this year and next year too, probably. Yeah, you're right. But that's
if
how you package up.
Yeah, if you package the two, like Jim brought up last week, you package the two and you move up, and now you get your quarterback, then it's worth it. If TJ was 27, no way in hell do we consider trading him. He's 31, and he's coming off 2 pretty injury-ridden years.
Yeah, we've seen the best of TJ Watt. He's not.
I hope not. I hope he has one more good year left in him.
I don't know if he's got the 19-20 sack season in him left. I don't think he does. I think that ship has sailed. He's more valuable. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tony's got a really good point here. Yes, the reality is Art Rooney wants him to be a one jersey guy, so it probably is a moot point.
I think that's a great point. I don't see the Steelers even given an inkling that they want to do this. So we might be just talking just to hear ourselves talk at this point. Now, Minkah, I think they could be talked into moving Minkah, but you're not going to get multiple first-round picks for him. You'd be lucky to get, what do you think, a second for him?
Yeah,
at this point with his contract and the way he's played,
I think Kaboli and Fittipaldo both say his contract is untradeable.
The Steelers always could eat some of it too and make him more desirable.
That's something the Steelers are famous for, eating money.
But I know. But look, I mean, it's again. If you wanted to get multiple picks, it's TJ Watt. That's your best asset.
He's the only guy you could trade for potentially multiple first round picks. Look, if you wanted to, let's just say you wanted to go Eamon Mori and you flipped Minkah for a second, which is possible. That becomes all of a sudden very interesting. I don't love the idea of Eamon Mori having to be the safety out of the bat, but if you could put him on the field in those 3 safety sets that the Steelers like to play, and he's my tight end cover guy.
Yeah,
I'm really happy with him showing after 1 year that, okay, you can let Minkah go. I got it.
Yeah, all evidence points to they're all in for the season. They want Aaron Rodgers. They're going to keep all their players. That's why this season could be so interesting, because it could work. It could work. Aaron Rodgers could lighten it in a bottle, like you said, and this team could make a run. Or he could just as easily fall apart at 41. And maybe if that happens, and maybe you get a early first-round pick next year, and you go from there.
If he plays like he played the last 6 games, which wasn't elite but was very good, then we have a chance to win a lot of games. If he plays like he did the beginning of the season, we have a chance to have the entire hierarchy of the coaching staff fired.
And don't forget, he was coming off a major injury. It was going to take him some time to get right. There's no doubt. And the Jets were in win now mode. They wanted, and so the pressure kept mounting. The team didn't play well. The coach got fired, and it just all fell apart. So I guess there is a scenario where a full year off that surgery. I mean, he's not going to the most quarterback-friendly offense in the league, but still, that's why I think running back would be even more important. Get a running game, a solid running game, to help this veteran quarterback out where he doesn't have to throw the ball so much. I think Omarion Hampton becomes super important.
Yeah. Or, there's guys, like you said, based on a list, there's guys in the 4th round you can get who,
if you get Golden and Giddens, Golden and Tootin, that would be something too. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be an interesting get. I mean, we're leaning towards seeing it. I saw Relic earlier said he'll be pissed on April 9th. Well, get ready to be pissed, buddy. Because I think that's when it's happening. If it doesn't happen, it's got to happen before the draft. Otherwise, then you really know it's a handshake deal at that point, and you've also, from a Steelers standpoint, have to question, hey, we didn't draft a quarterback because we thought we were getting you. I mean, then we could maybe start to worry a little bit. I'm 100%. Well, I'm 98% convinced it's the McAfee show. If not,
It better be.
If not, then the 2% scenario is he fucks with Green Bay and walks out, and that becomes the story of the draft instead of it being in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Green Bay, I signed with Pittsburgh.
Greg Holt brings up a question. I just watched Sanders. I like him.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, that's an interesting. He's a big guy, pretty good speed. Yeah, I like Sanders a lot. There's so many running backs in this draft. So many.
And he is more than likely a 4th, 5th, maybe even a 6th round pick. Yeah, there's a lot to like in his game, and kind of I wouldn't say a poor man's a Marion Hampton, but yes,
something like that. Yeah, that's not a bad comp to use. Yeah, I agree. Okay, I think that's it. Anything else before we get out of here, Bob?
No. Regular podcast tomorrow night. Going to be a special guest, so tune in for that at 7:00. Then on Tuesday we'll have mock draft, and we're working on some other things, other guests. We're going to have a lot of people on before the draft, so
I think we can announce them. We got Trent Ging tomorrow. If you don't know him, he's got his own podcast. It's a pretty good podcast, so we're going to have him on as a guest. This Thursday is going to be Zach Smith.
Yep.
Next Thursday, Alan Saunders.
Yep.
Tony Pauline this week sometime. I'm fairly certain that Tony Pauline will be on something. So we got a lot of stuff. We got the draft covered. We're going to do, we're trying to work out with something with the Steelers Fury podcast for some kind of draft, all of us on at once, something. We're still working on the details of that. We got a lot of stuff cooking, guys. Stick with us for draft coverage. I guarantee you'll be happy with us.
All right.
Rumble. We're on Rumble now. So if you guys want to watch us on Rumble instead of YouTube, that'd be great. Or just YouTube. Subscribe to either one. Subscribe to the podcast.
Both.
What's that?
Or both.
Yeah, both. We're on iTunes. We're on everything. So the most important thing, subscribe. That helps us out a great deal. Leave comments after. If you listen to this on the podcast or on YouTube later on, hit us a podcast. We'll try to respond. The like button too. Until tomorrow night, thanks for listening to Steel Sanctuary Podcast.
Ain't nothing over till it's over.
What's that from, the 80s?
It's probably in the 70s.
This is disappointing as hell.
Now what the fuck are we supposed to do?
Yo, come back now, you hear?
Probably worth the Google.
Saw that coming.